Liv Morgan defending her World Heavyweight Championship, or her World Championship, excuse me, against Rhea Ripley. And in my predictions, I had speculated that Dominik was going to be the one to cost Rhea Ripley the match. Now, the big question going into this match was Dominik's interference going to be intentional or unintentional? Meaning, is he going to screw Rhea Ripley, or is he going to accidentally screw her and then have to, face the music there? And it was on purpose. However, it seemed to surprise Liv Morgan, which means I wasn't totally accurate in my predictions. I had believed as a fan watching that Liv Morgan's character, letting her intentions be so known about what she wants to do to Rhea Ripley and the things she wants to take from her, she made it very obvious and made it very clear to the audience that taking things away from Rhea Ripley was the most important thing to her. So when she had this tearful meltdown in front of a bonfire, burning all of Dominik's shit because he broke her heart, that was weird to me because she shouldn't care about him like that. Her main focus is taking down Rhea Ripley on this revenge tour of hers, and she's just using Dominik. She shouldn't have any true, real feelings for him. So that was my big red flag. So I had speculated that the two were in cahoots. The whole thing was an act. Dominik chewing out Liv Morgan on the microphone a couple weeks ago was an act. Her crying and burning all of his shit was an act, and they're going to reveal that it was all an act here in this match. But it didn't exactly go that way, and you could tell something was going to go down based on Ripley's attitude and enthusiasm making her way to the ring. Very, very over the top with happiness, hugging on Dom, kissing him, just being very enthusiastic about the whole thing. It's just like the Mega Powers that I remember the night they split up as a kid. We're going way back to 1989 here. And I remember they had the main event match against Boss Man and Akeem. And all of a sudden, Hogan and Macho Man are just shaking hands a little bit too much, hugging a little bit too much. Even between tags, they're like hugging each other. And I'm like, okay, they're really laying it on thick here to this NBC audience that these two guys are best friends. That way, when the split happens, it's going to be that more shocking. But they telegraphed the fuck out of it. I was 12 and I could see this coming from a mile away. So the same thing here. Ripley is just very bubbly and happy and smiley, overconfident to a degree, thinking that she's just going to go right in here and murder Liv Morgan, which under normal circumstances she probably would. What they wound up doing after a very competitive match, by the way, which Rhea Ripley blows out her shoulder a couple of times in the match or injures her shoulder. And I said when she was walking around with her dangly shoulder, I'm like, just do the Mel Gibson thing. Martin Riggs, Lethal Weapon 2. He would dislocate his shoulder on purpose, and then he'd have to ram it up against a wall to jam it back in place. And it was just excruciating pain that he would go through. And then not 5 seconds later, she sees the announce desk and she just rams her shoulder right into the announce desk, pops her shoulder back in place. That shoulder would be a factor throughout the night or throughout the match. They bring a chair into the ring. A chair is there. And that's when I knew Dominik was going to do something here. And I think Morgan brings it in first, but it winds up in the hands of Rhea Ripley. And even the camera angle they were using, I'm like, Dominik's going to come in and stop her here. So she's got the chair. Rhea lifts up the chair. I think the referee hasn't taken a bump here because when she goes to hit her, Dominik grabs the chair. And I'm like, oh, there we go. But Dominik's like, no, mama, you don't want to win that way. The referee's right there, you dumbass. If you hit her with a chair, you're going to get disqualified. So it wasn't really totally known that Dominik was turning at that point. He just stopped her from using the chair. I guess later on, how did the finish go? There's another distraction when Liv Morgan is able, maybe it was he slid the chair in there. I forgot what he did, but Liv Morgan hits the Oblivion on Rhea Ripley, I think on the chair, and beats her. And when that happens, the camera cuts to Dom and he's got that smile, which is almost how I kind of predicted this to happen. I referenced the 1999 Armageddon match between Vince McMahon and Triple H and the end where Stephanie kind of turns on Vince, but you don't really know for sure until the camera just focuses on Stephanie and she gives that sadistic smile and she comes in and she embraces Triple H and makes out with him right in front of Vince. It's similar to, Vince McMahon and Trish making out right in front of Linda. I thought it would be something similar to that where Dominik smiles and him and Liv reveal that they've been in on this for the whole time and they come together and they lip lock right in front of Rhea Ripley. That's kind of what happened here. Dominik smiled. Liv comes out to the ring with her belt, comes outside of the ring and has got her belt, and Dominik grabs her by the face, and she looks so surprised, like she did not see this coming. And he just kisses her, and they walk off celebrating together. It was really good. It wasn't exactly the way I envisioned it in my head, but close enough. I thought they accomplished exactly what I wanted them to. And there you go. Thank you, Harry. Dom slid the chair into the ring and then distracted the ref. That's what it was. So he got the chair back in there. Then he jumped up on the apron. Ref's distracted. That's when Liv hits the Oblivion, and the camera shows Dom smirking and smiling. And that's the way that it really needed to go, because for Dom's character, Dominik needs to remain the sniveling little shit heel. He's not ready to shed that shell yet. And he's doing too good in that role, and it's too fun of a heel role for me as a fan to want to see that heel transition into a babyface. So he couldn't really stay with Rhea Ripley after this show, I didn't believe, because, you know, she's becoming more and more of a babyface and very, very over, and she's got this little fuck Dom. Dom's character stays more intact and the way it is if he has Liv Morgan with her. So it's time to end this thing. It was almost 2 years. How long were Rhea and Dom together? I swear it was like the Halloween of 2022 where they showed up and trick-or-treated at Ray's house. So I feel like we went on like a 2-year relationship with those two. And now that it's over and Dominik is with Liv Morgan, it's great. I can't wait to see where else it goes. And we knew that Judgment Day was going to have some opinions on this. Right after the match, they cut right back to them. They seemed surprised. Priest is pissed. He's wanting to know where that little shit is. And Balor's like, we'll go try to find him. But obviously Dom probably got the hell out of Dodge. And him and Liv Morgan went and got one of them hotel rooms that has those like heart-shaped bathtubs and the little quarter thing next to the bed that vibrates it. Hopefully they're at a motel like that. Just a one-story motel. No stairs, no elevators, just one story. That's where you want to go if you're Dominik and Liv. Up next, match number 2, I believe, was Sami Zayn defending his Intercontinental Championship against Braun Breaker. This one went exactly the way you thought it would go. We had a great match between the two at Money in the Bank, where Sami Zayn proved once again that he is not a joke of a champion. He is not to be taken lightly, and he's a very credible champion and wrestler in WWE. This is a guy that beat Gunther at WrestleMania clean and then turned around and did it to Braun Breaker at Money in the Bank. This was Braun Breaker's second chance here to make good and to right some of the wrongs and mistakes that he had potentially made in the first match at Money in the Bank, and he did just that. And basically just beat Sami straight up, you know, beat him with the, I think Sami came in with another Huluva kick, which Breaker just speared him into oblivion. Couple of spears in this match, but basically just beat him clean right there in the middle. I liked his gear. He was wearing kind of some U of M colors, which was funny because they were in Ohio, but the gear was pretty reminiscent of what Scott Steiner and Rick Steiner, but I think more of Scott when I saw him in it, would have worn in like the early 90s in their, you know, first couple of runs there. It was good stuff, and congrats to Braun Breaker. I mean, that's kind of the finish you needed to do there. He needed to win the IC, and he did. After that, I believe, was Logan Paul and LA Knight, correct? And this one was good as well. Now, LA Knight last night on SmackDown stole Logan Paul's prime truck and then drove it to the event tonight. Logan Paul made his entrance first. He had Machine Gun Kelly with him, so I thought Machine Gun Kelly was going to take another power bomb off the stage from somebody. He did not, but he was there to basically be backup and sit at ringside with Logan Paul's other two jack-off friends to back him up. Logan's out there in Cleveland Browns colors, and then LA Knight shows up in the prime truck, and he takes a big steel bar and he bashes Logan's windows out. Logan Paul took a pinfall loss a couple of weeks ago. LA Knight's been pissing in his pool. Now he stole his truck last night. Now he drove the truck to SummerSlam and vandalized it before he came to the ring. It felt like all of the signs were pointing to Logan retaining here and then maybe dropping it to LA Knight somewhere down the road in the very near future. And I had pitched the very first SmackDown on the USA Network on September 13th. But turned out that we just did the title change here, and I'm fine with that. Machine Gun Kelly did get involved, tried to hand Logan Paul the brass knuckles, which he did use, and LA Knight recovered from and was able to catch Logan with a BFT. and pin him after they had a pretty good match. I guess I knew the match was going to be good, but I feel like of all of the opponents Logan Paul's been in the ring with so far, LA Knight is kind of the weakest, because he's had some big matches, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. So I thought that maybe this match wouldn't be as good as some of the other Logan Paul matches, but I thought that it was. And I'm happy that LA Knight finally now is a champion. And even though I predicted Logan Paul to win here and retain the title, I'm glad that I was wrong, because it would have been hard for the fans to have to wait again. And one problem with my pitch about holding off LA Knight's win is that they've already held off on him enough times. Fans have wanted him to win a couple of Royal Rumbles, a couple of Money in the Banks, and he's been shit on a couple of times from the fans' perspective. So I think doing that one more time might really try their patience, and they might not be willing to wait one more time to get this done. I just thought if it was on the main event of a television show in front of a big audience, might have a bigger impact than mid-card on SummerSlam. But Logan Paul did take the loss. LA Knight is your new U.S. champion, and the crowd really, really was happy with that outcome. Even though Logan Paul is a Cleveland boy, Cleveland was not kind to Logan Paul. They were pretty much behind LA Knight in this one. Next match after that was Bayley defending her women's championship against Nia Jax. I did predict this one correctly. Tiffany Stratton is the Money in the Bank winner, and she's been right in the middle of this thing. Now, I said in my predictions that my belief is that she would come out and she would tease a cash-in, but she would not do it. And that's exactly what happened. Nia Jax and Bayley, by the way, both looked amazing. Nia Jax's makeup was right on point. Everybody just looked the part in this. The introductions were great and really fun. Shout out to Samantha Irvin, who crushed it all night long. She looked fantastic. And the match, I thought, was really good. They had a few callbacks, even one callback to a nearly 10-year-old finish back in London, I think they said, at a takeover back in 2016. And they tied a lot into this match, and I thought they did really well. There's some good spots, some sick-ass Samoan drops and whatnot, and Bayley's doing top rope shit. Even had Nia Jax up in powerbomb position at one point and walked with her in the ring, which is an incredible feat of strength. I liked it a lot. And then, of course, we did get Tiffany Stratton coming out. Her music hits, she's coming out to cash in, and as soon as her music hits, I'm just on camera going, nope, 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 she's not doing it, she's not doing it. They went through the trouble to create and gift her a brand new Money in the Bank briefcase last night on SmackDown. You're not going to have that thing for less than 24 hours. There's no way. Plus, you already burned off your men's briefcase the same night as Money in the Bank. I think they want to keep a briefcase in their universe for a while. Otherwise, they're going to go a year without one. So I did not think that Tiffany is anywhere close to cashing in her briefcase yet. I would be willing to go as far as saying she's not cashing it in until 2025. She could hold it that long, and I believe there's a really good chance she will. So she comes out here to cash in, but I knew she wasn't gonna. She doesn't get very far. I think Bayley hits her with a baseball slide or kicks her off the ring apron or something, and she goes flying down. That allows Nia Jax to capitalize and catch Bayley and hit her with not one, not two, but three annihilators in the corner and pin her and become the new WWE Women's Champion. Tiffany Stratton then hops right in the ring and celebrates with her. But I'm like, you just tried to cash in. Was your cash in just a distraction? Were you just there to help Nia Jax? Maybe she didn't really intend on cashing in. She just intended on causing the distraction, which she did. And now she can bide her time because, Tiffany Stratton might want to wait out Nia Jax's title run. But I also feel like there's a good chance that Tiffany could cash in another Bayley and Nia Jax rematch. I feel like Bayley's going to get a rematch, probably at Bash at Berlin or maybe Bad Blood, not sure yet. Or maybe TV. And I suppose Tiffany could cash in there on Nia Jax, straining their relationship, but I just think all that is just too soon. I think Tiffany's going to run with the briefcase for a while, and Nia Jax is the new women's champion, and I'm really happy for her and with that because I think this is her best run. This is the most interesting and best she's ever been in her career. And since Triple H brought her back, they've used her perfectly. And Nia Jax is no longer somebody, to me, that is a channel changer. She has my attention. She has my interest. And she's had it for a while now. And that's pretty awesome. So congrats to Nia Jax on her big win there. Bayley, it's a shame to see her run come to an end. I think that there is a possibility with these two that we could see a small little hot tater. I wouldn't mind them trading the belt back. I wouldn't mind Nia Jax dropping the belt back to Bayley in a couple of months. I'd be fine with that if they did that. And if they did, that's where you could have Bayley or Tiffany, cash in the Money in the Bank right after Bayley wins the belt back and then cash in. And now she's champion, with Nia Jax backing her up. So is her heater. So you could do something like that. But for now, Nia Jax is the women's champion, and she should probably hold that title for a while. And yeah, Bonkers LFC, 4 title changes in the Triple H era is a lot, especially when the card is only 7 matches long. So over half of the card was title changes tonight. Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk with Seth Rollins as the special guest referee. And this one, I gotta say, was good, guys. I was worried about it. I was worried about Punk's health and his safety, because this is a very brutal blood feud here and very personal, deep rivalry. And given the fact that Punk in the last 2 years has worked probably 5 or less televised matches, I was worried about how he would hold up. But he's been looking pretty good physically on TV since his recovery. He's jacked up a little bit more. Looks like he's added a little bit of size to him. I noted tonight during the match that you could see like the muscles in his back, which is just not something I ever really associate Punk with. So he feels like he's done a good job of keeping himself in shape and getting healthy and staying in shape while he's been rehabbing. And after the 5-minute mark went by in the match, I was feeling pretty good about it. By then, he had taken a couple of bumps. He had taken a couple of stiff clotheslines, and the way he was moving around in there made me at ease. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling all right about this. Where at the Royal Rumble, he did seem a little bit winded. Here, he didn't. He might have, been gassed a couple of times, but he seemed to hold it together for the most part for me. Seth Rollins was out there in a bedazzled, sleeveless referee shirt, of course, and he's got his referee earpiece, and the referees tonight had cameras. They had like earpiece cameras that whenever they cut to them throughout the show, they didn't seem like they added much to me. And now the referees have to wear an extra little thing behind their back and this shit on their ear. It looked uncomfortable as hell, and I don't think they really serve a purpose, and they didn't add anything to the show. Maybe they'll catch a good camera angle at some point with these things, but I'm not too optimistic, and I don't really need to see them beyond tonight. But the match was really good, and it went about the way we thought it would. Punk had a lot of offense. He was doing a lot of, ass kicking to Drew, which I was a little bit surprised about. This match pretty much had everything, but what we were waiting for was when some issues would start to arise between CM Punk and Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, or Rollins specifically as the referee in this thing. He was being cool with Drew, turning his back, letting Drew do whatever he wanted to Punk. There was a really good slingshot spot on the outside of the ring where he slingshotted Punk underneath the ring. So Punk came up and hit like the steel bar or the iron brace there, which was a really good spot. But Rollins did at one point, they teased the SummerSlam 97 finish where I think Rollins kind of acts like he's going to allow McIntyre to use the chair only to kind of take it away from him. And he went to go swing it, but I think he stopped short of hitting CM Punk. CM Punk and Rollins would have their problems with each other as well. Punk and Rollins got in each other's face a couple of times right in the beginning of the match in the introductions. When Punk is taking off his jacket, he throws it at Rollins and it lands all in Rollins' hair and shoulders, and it kind of knocks and wiggles his referee earpiece and stuff, and he looked visibly annoyed about it. I think it was just an accident. It's kind of like that belt swapping shit between Charlotte and Becky that was allowed to just get a little bit too out of hand. It was kind of like that. I don't think Punk intended for it to go that badly, but then it just looked bad. And then Rollins takes Punk's jacket and wipes it on his ass and throws it on the outside of the ring. So that was a funny little moment there. But the big moment came when Rollins was super late on a 3 count. I think Punk had hit Drew with the GTS, and I was worried about about Punk being able to effectively deliver the GTS, but he did hit Drew with it, looked pretty good, got on Drew, but Rollins was a little bit late getting in for the 3 count, so that pissed off CM Punk. And CM Punk actually picks up Rollins and hits him with the GTS. So he GTS's Rollins. Rollins goes down. Punk then turns his attention back to Drew, who hits him with a low blow and then sets him up for the Claymore, nails Punk with the Claymore after the low blow. And then just as Rollins is coming to, counts the 1, 2, 3, and Drew McIntyre gets the victory and gets the win. Now, they had also had a spot in the match where Drew had pulled out the bracelet, which throughout the whole match was tucked nice and neatly next to his taint, which I'm sure that must have been pleasant. If I was Punk, I would have been like, you can just keep that. He pulls it out, puts it on his wrist. Punk has got Drew in an anaconda vice during the match, and during the submission he seized the bracelet and lets go of the hold to retrieve the bracelet. And so he kind of had, an opportunity to polish off Drew there. So after Drew beats Punk, Drew takes possession back of the bracelet and he still has it, which means we are going to get another match between these two. And I'm assuming that's going to happen at Bad Blood in Hell in the Cell. But I thought that it would make more sense for Drew to win the blow-off and Punk to win here. So that means most likely that Punk is going to beat Drew in the Hell in the Cell. Rollins, being a part of that finish, I thought benefited Punk more, and Punk getting the victory here could just set Drew over the edge. He's like, God damn it, now I want you inside of a cage where no one can help you. And I thought a mano-a-mano match between the two would be better for Drew to win, especially if they're going to try to do some sort of a double turn or switch these guys at some point throughout this saga. But now with Rollins being involved in the finish, I thought Rollins would cost Drew, and Drew and Rollins would have their WrestleMania rematch at Bash at Berlin. It might turn out to be Punk and Seth now at Bash at Berlin, which would be a weird place to put that match, but they might want to just get it done while Punk's healthy, and that's going to look pretty good on the Bash at Berlin marquee if they do it there. Otherwise, I don't know when you're going to do Punk and Rollins, because Punk and Rollins seems like it has to happen now, given the fact that Punk hit Rollins with a GTS in this match. So we'll see what happens. Punk, I guess, in my mind, like I said in my predictions, the loser is going to blame Rollins for this. So Punk, I'm assuming, will blame Rollins. I had him beat. You were slow on the 3 count, so I taught you a lesson, and it cost me. So I want you at Bash at Berlin. And shit, maybe they both want to face Drew, so the winner of the match at Bash at Berlin faces Drew in the Cell. I don't know what you're going to do here, but I feel like if Punk is now slated to win the blow-off in the Cell, I'd beat Punk again. Maybe now you turn things on its ear. If you do Punk and Rollins at Bash at Berlin, I would have Drew interrupt and cost Punk the match. And now Rollins beats Punk, Drew beats Punk, but now Punk is going to demand a match with McIntyre inside the Cell, and he'll win that. And then maybe down the road after that, you revisit Punk and Rollins again, and Punk gets his win back. I don't know. But I did have this one wrong. I thought Punk would win this, considering it's his first televised match in 11 years in the company, singles match anyway, that he would have this one, but it was not to be. McIntyre got the win. And also, like I said in my predictions, one cool thing about this whole feud is that the way the match was set up with Rollins as the referee is it didn't matter who won or lost. You can achieve the same thing. Either way, you can protect the guy, have Rollins involved with the finish, then Rollins can be blamed, and you protect whoever loses this match. And that's pretty much what happened here. And I thought it could have happened the same way with McIntyre losing. So Drew got the big SummerSlam win over Punk. And when you think about how many times Punk has screwed Drew over, it really did make sense that McIntyre got the win. And up next was the World Heavyweight Championship match. Damian Priest taking on Gunther. And this one pretty much went the way we thought it would. A month ago, I wasn't quite sure about how exciting a Priest and Gunther match in the ring would be. Even went as far as pitching, adding Rollins to the mix to make it a triple threat, to make the match more exciting, but it wasn't necessary. They did a great job in the build between these two guys. I was much more excited and enthusiastic about seeing this match than I was back in July after we saw how they built this thing on Raw the past few weeks. And Damian Priest, I thought, has done a great job as World Heavyweight Champion, and I thought he's carried the belt with respect, and he's been a great champion. And it was probably going to be time for him to drop it here. There was really, with Gunther, he clearly is the future. And even though I thought they could potentially do something to have Priest win here and prolong Gunther's victory to the main event of Bash at Berlin, I felt like at the end of the day, this was Gunther's match to win. Now, during the introductions, you could see that Gunther already has some pre-existing blood blisters or something on his chest from a previous encounter or match with the chops. So those are already visible. And then when the match starts, they get into chopping each other, and Gunther, he gets a couple of those busted open, and he's got blood streaming down his chest. And man, bloody titties. You knew these guys were not playing games in this match, and when they were off to a start like that. And it was very hard hitting. It was fun. There was some amazing spots in this match that I think this is the match that had that big, delayed vertical suplex, didn't it? I think that was this match, right? And we knew based on the pre-match segment that we saw backstage with Judgment Day, with Priest and Balor offering his services once again to be there for Priest if he needs him. And Priest continues to decline the offer, but to also appreciate the offer, And so a lot of us and a lot of you had sniffed out Finn being a major factor in this match, and he was. As we get near the finish of the match here, Finn Balor shows up at ringside to back up Damian Priest. And then Priest, I think he hits Gunther with the South of Heaven choke slam and hits him right in the middle of the ring. But instead of going for the cover, Priest pushes Gunther towards the ropes. And I'm like, oh man, he's pushing him over there so Gunther can put his foot on the ropes. What I didn't see coming was Balor jumping up and grabbing Gunther and putting his foot on the rope. So his turn, he didn't do a turn that directly caused the finish of the match. He just saved Gunther. That was his turn. I was expecting his turn on Priest would be like a chair shot to the face, helping Gunther win. But instead, Balor jumps up on the apron, puts Gunther's foot on the ropes, and then the camera, just like Dominik, catches Balor with that perverted smirk on his face. And that allows Gunther to recover. Damian Priest now sees what happened on the video wall, because they've got video screens everywhere. So he's now looking, and he sees the replay of what Balor did. So now he's staring a hole in Balor. But meanwhile, Gunther's able to recover and hits Priest with the power bomb, and then puts him back in the sleeper, which he utilized earlier on in the match, and chokes Damian Priest out to become the new World Heavyweight Champion. Went on the outside of the ring, celebrated on the announce table, immediately put the belt around his waist, fits him like a fucking glove, looks like a great champion already. And Balor was the direct reason that Priest lost the title, and Priest was then seething, looking at Balor, he's out for blood. Now that Priest has lost the title, you have to wonder if his energy is going to be focused more on revenge on Finn Balor or regaining his championship. So at Bash at Berlin, I was assuming we would get a run back between Gunther and Priest. I'm not so sure now. It might be Priest and Balor, and maybe Gunther faces a completely new dude at Bash at Berlin. Who would it be if he is going to face somebody other than Priest at Bash at Berlin? Who is that going to be? I feel like it's still going to be Priest. The main event, Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Solo Sikoa in a Bloodline rules match. Now, they made the Bloodline rules stip last night on SmackDown, which pretty much guaranteed that we were going to get the expected return of Roman Reigns tonight. They've really been telegraphing that with Solo Sikoa's behavior. Now, in possession of the Ulafala, now calling himself the Tribal Chief, the abuse of Paul Heyman, and the smack he's been talking about Roman Reigns being a weak leader and whatnot on TV, you knew that was going to result in Roman Reigns coming back. Now, in my predictions, I had thrown out a lot of scenarios, but the one I was really sticking with was Roman Reigns kind of coming out to make the save for Cody, but not necessarily running out to save him and then embrace in a tearful hug or anything like that, just to confront Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline members. And that's pretty much what we got here in this match. Thank you to Gilbert, who told me Pharaoh the dog is 13. He's older than I want him to be. I wasn't sure how old Pharaoh was. I had asked you guys during the watch party tonight when they were doing Cody Rhodes' entrance. They started out in his bus, sitting there in his bus. He gets up, he leaves the bus. Pharaoh is waiting for him. He starts walking with Pharaoh, and that's when I was like, I wonder how old Pharaoh is, because I know he's been around since the AEW days, and unfortunately, Pharaoh's pretty old. He probably doesn't have much time left. That's really sad, but it was cool that Cody had the dog with him, and then Cody stops by a woman. I don't know if it's family. I don't know who that was, but she gave him his American Nightmare robe, puts it on, and then he begins walking, and that's when he runs into, or did he put it on before? I forgot if he ran into Arn before or after the robe was on, but then he ran into Arn Anderson, who's back, or at least was here tonight, and had a nice moment with Cody, seeing the two of them together. I'm like, holy crap, just bust out the Denny's menu and I'm going to be marking out big time, or a Glock, either one, whatever Arn feels like. So a nice moment there between Arn and Cody, reminiscing. And then Arn says a couple of interesting things. One of those things is that Cody, he goes, you know, you got friends in high places and a couple of them are on their way here now. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because in my predictions, when we were talking about this, I had assumed that Kevin Owens and Randy Orton would probably run out here to try to help Cody, but that they weren't going to be enough. The numbers game was going to overwhelm them, and that's what's going to result in Roman Reigns' return, coming back to make that final save for Cody. But Arn is referencing names in high places, so the chat was going nuts that it was going to be Dustin Rhodes, but he was on Collision tonight. Now, granted, Collision was taped. He's on AEW TV. His contract might be up soon, but it ain't up yet, and he's currently a champion in Ring of Honor or something, right? But then people were mentioning Ricky Starks, and I'm like, oh, it could be Ricky Starks, but all of that would just be out of place. I feel like the friends in high places that Arn Anderson was referencing was Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and that's who he was referencing. After Cody and Solo, wrestled for about 15 minutes, that's when you got the predicted interference by the Bloodline, because this is Bloodline rules, so you could do whatever you want. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa hit the ring first. They attack Cody Rhodes, and that's when Kevin Owens' music hits. He comes out first, and then Randy Orton's music hits. He comes out. They're fighting with the Bloodline, and Kevin Owens and Randy Orton fight Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa off into the crowd, running them off. So now it's back to Cody and Solo again, and we have not seen Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu, who won the tag team championships last night, we have not seen him yet on the show. He did not come out earlier on in the match, so you know he's going to show up, and he does right when Cody, I think, has got Solo Sikoa down. He might have hit him with a crossroads. I don't remember. Jacob Fatu shows up. He runs up the ropes. He hits a top rope move onto Cody, and then takes him out with another move, drags him out to the outside, clears off the announce table, lays Cody Rhodes on the announce table, and then does the big top rope splash onto Cody. Really, really sells his leg after he executes the move, which kind of knocks him out for the remainder of the match. And Cody is out like a light. He's been taken out. Solo grabs Cody, brings him back into the ring, and I believe Cody kicks out one more time, does he not? I think Solo goes for the pin, and Cody kicks out and survives again, and that's when the Tribal Chief music starts, and it's a little bit different. It sounds like Roman Reigns has spiced up his music a little bit. It's still the same theme, it's just got some extra added shit to it. So we see the head of the table graphics show up on the video wall. The crowd, boy, now they woke up. The crowd was quiet at times tonight. I think that's just due to it being outdoors. But man, they woke up when Roman came out there and they went berserk. Roman Reigns walks straight to the ring. And once he gets closer to the ring, he starts speeding up his walk, because at first I wasn't sure if he was going to come out and get physical. I had said in my predictions that he doesn't need to. His presence will be enough to stop everybody in their tracks, which could be enough for Cody to come from behind and capitalize and take the victory. But Roman does come out. He walks slowly to the ring, and then he starts power walking near the end, gets in the ring. Superman punches Solo Sikoa. I think he hits him with a spear as well, and he did exactly what I said he should do in my predictions. I said when it comes to Cody and Roman, there needs to be a little look or a nod or something between the two. I don't need a handshake. I don't need a hug. All I need is a look, and that's exactly what we got. Roman Reigns just kind of looks at Cody, leaves. Cody Rhodes then hits Solo Sikoa. He had already hit the triple crossroads on him earlier. I think that's when Jacob Fatu interfered. So he just hit him with one more crossroads here, gets the win, wins the match, retains the title, celebrates with the title while Roman Reigns watches him in the aisleway. A lot of good camera shots of Roman looking at Cody. You can tell there's some respect there. And it's like we've seen this so many times, common enemies type of thing, where guys who just got done feuding with each other now find themselves in on the same side. I think of another example of this is like Austin and McMahon in 1999, right after WrestleMania 15. The ministry started happening. Austin saved Stephanie from being on the symbol, Undertaker symbol. And then there's that Backlash match where Austin finally beats The Rock. He wants his smoking skull belt. Vince wants to give it to him, but Shane kind of won't. And then after the match, Vince, I think he grabs the belt and he throws it in the ring. He just gives it to Austin. And the two of them kind of lock eyes, and Vince McMahon just kind of nodded to him. Like, we've had our issues, but right now, both of us have got people we hate more in our lives. And there's just that little kind of look of respect there between the two. And it's something that we've seen very, very commonly. And it's not a new thing in wrestling to do. So I was kind of hoping we would kind of get that. Roman and Cody, mutual respect, because you would think that Roman should have achieved a lot of respect for Cody over the last 2 years. He knows he escaped at WrestleMania 39 with his title in his life, and he was lucky to win that. Fast forward a year later, Cody beats him, finally has his number, overcomes all the bloodline odds, and here does it again with Solo Sikoa. And even though Roman Reigns could very well find himself on the opposite side of the ring from Cody Rhodes again one day, maybe even for a championship, there's not really a personal issue between the two. It's more an issue of respect, and I love that. So now that Roman Reigns is back, you would have to assume we're going to begin our build to the Bloodline Civil War. And Jimmy Uso is still out of action. Jey Uso is on Raw. We could have seen them come out tonight, but I think you got to take it slow. Survivor Series isn't until November. So you've got some time here to build this issue. And Roman Reigns, if you remember, Paul Heyman during the WWE draft pulled Roman Reigns from the draft pool. So Roman Reigns could show up on Raw and recruit a Jey Uso. And so you could see Roman Reigns doing that over the next couple of weeks and months, slowly kind of building his new army there. And you've got Jey Uso and Sami Zayn on Raw, and Roman Reigns showing up on Raw to talk to them would be one hell of a segment in the ring. Remember when Brett got Owen and Davey in the ring in 97 and they all came together and shared that little three-way hug? Those were heels, but if you do this in a babyface way with Jey Uso and Sami and Roman kind of all together sharing a hug in the middle of the ring on Raw, that would be really fun. You could add, Jimmy Uso to that, and now you could have a Bloodline Civil War, especially if you add Hikuleo to the new bloodline, and then maybe Roman needs one more, and that's where, he gets Cody, and Cody and Roman are fighting on the same side of War Games. Cody could be involved in this throughout the rest of the year. I kind of hope that he is, because they've already left, this door wide open for Cody and The Rock down the road. And so now if he's, kind of helping out Roman occasionally here or there, that could be a lot of fun. So I thought the finish went brilliantly. Again, not exactly the way I had envisioned in my head, but very, very close. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, and Cody and Solo all went, for the most part, how I envisioned it in my head. A lot of the matches did. So did Sammy and Braun Breaker, for that matter. So I thought the show was fun tonight. Really well done. Great to see the Tribal Chief back. He's got a shirt, I think, that said OTC, which I believe is Original Tribal Chief. So he's got some new merch. He's got some new music. Hopefully we'll see Roman Reigns on TV somewhat frequently. And if his focus is going to be more on battling the new bloodline, more than it's going to be trying to regain his championship. So we'll see how that dynamic plays out on TV. Overall, I thought SummerSlam was a really, really fun show. Thank you for watching it with me, and thank you for hanging out for the review as well.